Hello everyone. So today we are going to see how can we set up OAuth in our Next.js project. Okay, so first things first, just I have set up a very basic Next.js project, and like a starter code is running on like default localhost 3000. We are going to do this with Google and with GitHub. So we are going to set up Google OAuth and GitHub OAuth. Okay. So to do that, we need to get some credentials from both of these platforms. So let's first go ahead and acquire credentials from GitHub. Okay. So I'll simply go to settings, to developer settings, OAuth apps, and here I have created some other applications before. For you, it should be empty if you are doing it for the first time. I'll create a new OAuth app. Let's just name it test. Homepage URL for development purposes, it's just localhost 3000. If you are hosting it somewhere like on Vercel, or if you have purchased a high level domain, go ahead and paste that URL, your homepage URL here. Callback URL, just with your homepage URL, add the following: API auth callback GitHub. API auth callback GitHub. Click on register application. Here we have got our client ID, and we can generate a new client secret. I'll enter my password, and here we have, this is our client secret. So let's go ahead and enter these GitHub credentials into our project. How are we going to do that? We're going to create env file, because all these credentials are supposed to be secret. I'll create a GitHub client ID and GitHub client secret. I have copied secret. Here we go. And now I will copy this client ID. Same thing we'll do for Google as well. Okay. Now how to obtain Google's client ID and client secret. I can go ahead and close GitHub. Now our work there is done. Again, for Google, I'll provide a link in description, or you can just type console.developers.google.com and you'll be redirected to this page. Okay. Uh, Once you are here, go to credentials. Yeah. And again, I have built several other applications before. If you are doing it for the first time, it should be empty. And I'll go ahead and click on create credentials. We want OAuth client ID. Application type, for us it's a web application. That's what Next.js is. Name, let's keep the default name, web client 6. In JavaScript origins, same thing. Like it should be the home page uh, of your website. If you are, if it's for development, then it should be localhost 3000. And similarly, authorized redirect URL should also be just homepage, and add API auth callback and Google this time, not GitHub. If you want, you can add multiple URIs in both the places for redirect URIs and origin also. I'll just go ahead and create this. Here, we've got our client ID. I'll paste this client ID in my env file, and again client secret and env file. Okay, perfect. Now there is one more variable that we need to enter here, and it is next auth URL. Next auth URL. Yeah, and it should be basically the home page of your website of your Next.js application. So here, one thing you must keep in mind is that this name should be same, nextauth underscore URL, because we are going to use nextauth library, which is provided by Next itself, and it looks for this name only. So we can't change this name. The other variables we can give our own names, but this must be the same. Okay. So we have this is all the environment variables that we are going to need. Now let's go ahead and create a API route. Okay. So API route is also fixed. This is what we must create every time. Inside of app, create one folder called API. Inside API, it should be auth. Inside auth, it should be in square brackets triple dot next auth. This is the route that next auth looks for. So we can't change this also. And I'll go ahead and create my route.js. Now again, let us install Next.auth. My Next.auth. Okay. So a few things that we are going to need. We'll first import Next.auth from Next.auth from Next.auth slash next. Okay. Yeah, and as the AI suggesting, we need Google provider and we need GitHub provider. So basically, this Next.auth has all these built-in providers, so we don't need to worry too much about business logic here. Now I'll go ahead and add credentials. To add credentials, I am going to create a variable auth options. And let's see, client ID, client secret, same for GitHub, and that's it. Yeah, it's this easy. So it just provides Google provider, it provides GitHub provider, and we have just like entered the client ID and client service. Let's go ahead and first check. Is the same variable name, right? Yeah, it's same variable name. Okay. We create handler. We'll pass options in next auth imported here, and we'll just export all the methods that we want, which is get and post. Now this should every time you are going to create, you are going to deal with next auth, this code will look exactly same. Okay. The only difference is, let's say if you want to have like another provider also, then you'll add provider. If you want to have only Google provider, then you'll not use GitHub provider. That is the only difference in the number of providers, which will differ according to your use case. Rest of the things will remain the same. We are importing the get and post method, but nowhere in our code are we going to use these things. It is all going to be built-in functions, and we do not need to worry about the business logic. Okay, so this is also done. Another important thing is that here our next app needs to understand that we are going to deal with Next.auth, right? Yeah, Next.auth is also installed. So it expects us to wrap the children around this thing called session provider. If I go ahead in layout.js, but if I just import session provider, right? Import session provider. Yeah, there you go. If I import this session provider and I just directly wrap it like session provider, and I wrap it around children. Okay, this is not going to work. Here it will throw error. The error is that this session provider expects to be used inside a client component, right? Inside a client component. And layout.js is a server component. Again, if we just go ahead and do use client to make layout.js client component, again one new error will come that we can't use metadata inside client component. So it's kind of a conflict. It's kind of a conundrum that to deal with it, we are not going to directly wrap children inside session provider. We are going to create our own custom container. Okay, so let's do that. Inside app.js, we'll simply create a container. Let's call it provider.js. Here we'll import our session provider. And the session provider we saw it must be used inside a client component. So use client. And we'll create our own custom container. And let's see, we don't need session, all we need is GD. Yeah, and then simply, so what we are doing is, this is a custom container. We are exporting it, okay? And whatever thing we wrap inside this container that we created called provider, that will be ultimately wrapped inside session provider, okay? So this custom container we have created will import this container inside layout.js. Alright. And now this container has no obligation that it should only work inside a client component. So we can simply wrap children here inside our custom container. So just a recap, this container we created and we imported. We have wrapped children inside of this container provider. What is going on inside provider? So the children that we wrapped in this provider is ultimately wrapped in session provider, which is expected by Next.js. Okay. So all the hard part is done. All the like this was also not tough, but like comparatively, the next thing is going to be really easy. Okay. All we've got to do now is deal with the UI. So let's check. Yeah, no error, and our default template is loaded. Let's just clear that here. Page.js. I'll just go ahead and okay. Let's work with it. First things first, this must be a client component, and we'll need a few things. We are importing use session from next.react. Okay, this use session will give us two things. First is the data, and second is the status. Data is, as the name suggests, data of the user, and status is whether the user is loading or the user is unauthenticated or the user is authenticated. Okay, how can we get this? Yeah, exactly like this. We'll just destructure data and status from use session. Okay, simple. And let's see, print this. Let's import use effect. Okay, we are going to say that run this use effect every time status changes. So every time the user logs in, it will be from unauthenticated to authenticated. Every time the user logs out, it will be unauthenticated from authenticated. So every time status changes, I want this piece of code to run, which will be just simply log status and data. Let's check this. Right now we have done nothing, so it should be unauthenticated only. Yeah, first it was loading and undefined. Status was loading, data was undefined. Since status was unauthenticated, data became null. Okay. Now we are going to add a button for GitHub sign in and Google sign in, and we'll see what happens. We'll need to import one method called sign in. That's it. That's all. Here, inside a simple div, let's do one button. Okay, this is sign in with GitHub. And here, all we got to do is call that built-in method that we imported right here from Next.js, and inside it we'll just pass the name of the platform. Here you can see so many things are there: 42 School, Apple, Atlassian, Auth0, Azure, Box. We need GitHub, and same thing we are going to do for Google and sign in with Google. Okay. These buttons are also there by default. So I literally did no coding at all, no styling at all, and these things are there by default. Okay, let's check. Let's first check one thing here in application in cookies. You can see that these tokens are already there, right? Now, one or two tokens will be added, and those tokens will contain data of the user. So let's go ahead and check sign in with Google. Okay. Here we got extra tokens, and this token will have data of the user. In console, we are getting authenticated and we are getting data, but there is some error. Okay. We made a very silly mistake. So the button is being triggered over and over again. We need to convert it into an arrow function. Yeah. Now it should be fine. Yep. So user is authenticated and we have gotten the data. Expires when this session will expire. We have gotten that, and inside of user we have the email, the name, and if required, the avatar also. So this will return the Google avatar. Okay. Okay. So, but the issue is that let me create some padding here. Okay. Okay. Now what we can do is we'll add some logic that we want that if the user is authenticated, here we can see the status is authenticated, then we want that these buttons should not be there and we should get a button of sign out. Okay. So first, how will we sign out? How will we write the logic? So that is also very simple. We'll just import sign out. We have imported sign out, and here we can check status. That if status is actually authenticated, right? If status is authenticated, have a button for sign out. On click, arrow function necessary, sign out. Simply sign out. You don't need to mention platform or anything else. And if it's not authenticated, then go ahead and show the button. Now if I refresh, yeah, we are getting a sign out. If I click on sign out, again sign in with Google, sign in with GitHub. We haven't tried GitHub, so let's go ahead and try that. Alright, so I was using the same account with which I got the client ID and client secret. It's not working there, but when I tried with another account, it's working. So sign out, sign in with GitHub, that is working, and here we are getting our data. So name and email, okay, and the avatar image, of course. Same with Google. There you go. Name, image, and email. Perfect. Yeah, so that was basically it. That is how you can also now you can also go ahead and add OAuth in your project, and you'll not need to worry about writing the same authentication logic over and over again. This was pretty short and simple. We created the environment variables. Remember, this name must not change, others you can change. Inside route, this specific route path must not change, API auth next auth. And this code will also pretty much remain the same no matter what you are creating. And again, the provider thing, that you need to create a custom provider to wrap the children inside the session provider, session provider, which is uh, available in Next.js. Finally, the front end part was pretty simple. Just we got the data and status from this hook called next session from Next.js React. To sign in, we are taking a built-in method, and to sign out also we are taking a built-in method. For sign in, we are simply passing name of the platform inside this method. And remember, there are many platforms which are pretty much built in inside, even Instagram also, LinkedIn also, which are built in inside Next.js. So that is pretty helpful. Yeah, so that was it for this video. Let me know if there is anything I missed. And this was my first video, so please excuse any mistakes. And if there is any doubt, anything I missed, I would love to clear all that stuff up in the comment section. So feel free to reach out. I'll provide all the social links in the description. And I usually post shorts with some like simple tips and tricks, so you can check that out too. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.